Good evening and welcome to another edition of My Bench Jeweler. We're going to take a look at 4 clocks. This is the first one and we're looking at the back of it. And it of course came in and doesn't run. And you can see all of that black corrosion that's on the back side of the brass plate. And it's hard to say what actually caused that. But I do know this had been sitting in a fairly damp basement for 20 years. And you can see that the mainsprings were fully wound, so you know it's not working right. Go in here and it's got a nice tone to it though. So this is clock number 1 that we were looking at. Another clock. This is a anniversary clock or a 400-day clock in a dome, and it also came in here not too long ago. And this is the next clock over. And these are all Mantle Clocks. And here's another one. So that's 4 clocks. Now, if you were out shopping around and wanted to see if you could buy a couple old clocks, maybe at an auction or maybe at an antique store, and you wanted to kind of get into the clock business, this is an ideal little lesson for you. Okay, this is the second clock we're looking at, and we're just kind of thumbing through here, looking at the back part of it. And if you were in an auction, and this is one of the things if they allow you to open the back plate up, this is one of the things you want to look at. So we're looking at the chime mainspring, and you can see that it's all the way out, and it's pressed against the wood housing of the interior of the clock. So that's probably why that part isn't running very well. So now we're going to run over here and we're going to take a look at the power mainspring, which is running the actual clock. And I'm just looking at the inside of the clock, just eye examining it, just like you would do if you were going to shop around and see if you could buy one and take it home and clean it and get it running properly. I want to bring you up here. Now you can see, let me go get a pointer. Okay, I'm trying to hold the camera steady here in my little pointer. Now, this is the gear just below the escape wheel, which is right there. And I'm just looking, and I can see some little pings around the outside edge of that bushing. I'm sorry, I can see some little pings right at the top around this bushing, which tells me that you can see it bouncing back and forth. So that's probably the reason why this clock has come in, is because the bushing is bad. And there is no real fix other than to tear it down and do it right, which would be to put a bushing in it. So probably, even after we cleaned this, it would probably not run for very long. Maybe you might get another year out of it. But that would be one thing that you would kind of want to examine and think, okay, do I really want to buy this clock or not on an antique auction? I sure wouldn't want to give a lot of money for it. So let's move on now to the next one. Okay, now this one here, let's see if we can get in here and take a look. I can see right away if you're in an auction or an antique shop and you wanted to look this clock over. Here again, you see where those little dents are up there on that bushing? Somebody has closed the hole, or thought they did, pushing it down, and so that the bushing is running around or true again, and that doesn't work. Might get you by for a few months, but in fact, this clock came in, and the customer's complaint was that we'd had it oiled and serviced, and it ran for about 3 months and it quit. Well, that's why it quit right there. It's a cheap way to try and fix a clock that doesn't work, and it just infuriates me that they do it that way. That is a horrible thing to do. This clock needs to come apart, and it needs to have that bearing replaced with a bushing and cleaned up, and then this clock would probably run just fine. So let's go back out. I don't see anything else wrong with this clock. Now you can see once again on the chime side, the mainspring is all the way out against this black, well, the interior of the clock. This is the wood base there. And let's see, yeah, that's off a little bit, so the hammer needs to be adjusted, but that's not a hard problem. But if you were buying this clock, I wouldn't want to spend a lot of money on it, buying it, because it's going to have some major work done on it. And probably if you were just going to go home and use one of our oil kits, this would not work very well on this particular one. And it's probably, chances are, has the same bearing on the other side. That's the same bearing on the other side. It's probably going to have to be replaced too, but once you had it apart, you might just as well do both. Okay, we get interrupted quite a bit, so I had to shut down because I had some people stop in the shop. But anyway, let's see if I can remember where we're at. We were looking at that gear up here, and you can see that that's been tampered with. So that makes you have to think about what kind of price you'd want to give if you were out shopping around for a project. And this clock is really clean otherwise, and had that been taken and oiled more frequently, this problem might not have occurred here. So let's move on to number 4, clock 4. Here's clock 4. Now you can see some deterioration on the plates, and that's just age. And I'm in ammonia. Sometimes people used to clean their clocks in the old days, and that would definitely create this blotchy looking on the clock. But I really don't know what caused it. It's not bad, and I would not worry about it. And looking at all on the back side, if I was in an auction or once again at a garage sale, or I was at a antique shop, I'd be looking at the back of this. And this eye looking, once again, here's the chime side, and it's the chime has worked its way all the way out, and it's stopped against the back of the clock there. This is a typical design, and the mainsprings are always banging up against that part of the housing of the clock. So now we're looking down here at the bottom, and let's go ahead and it's got a nice ring to it, and the weight's on it. And that's another thing, you always want to make sure there's a pendulum, whether it's in the bottom of the box down below, or in there, or they most generally they're hanging on the verge, so, or the leader. Anyway, we're looking at the bell, and I just think this one probably, if you just clean the bushings or the pivots with our little cleaning kits and oiled this, you'd have a clock that probably ran or would run without much trouble, and it would be a nice buy. So you could give a little more for this one, just based on looking at the back of it. So that's kind of a nice, fast way to look at a clock that you want for a project at home, and these are some of the ideas you want to look for. And what we're going to do next is we're going to take each one of these 4 clocks apart, and I'm going to show you how to clean it at home manually, and then of course I'll rebuild these and put them in ultrasonic tanks and clean them the proper way. So but if you were just buying these, like I said, for a nice project clock, or you wanted to take, go to an antique shop or a garage sale, you spy one at a garage sale, and I have seen many of them on garage sales, in little auctions, old home estate auctions. And so that would be the first thing you want to do, is kind of take a look at them from the back side, like again, we'll go closer in here, and you can see where that one's been tampered with. So, you know, that's going to have to be addressed later on, and it can't be fixed at home unless you want to get into taking clocks apart and rebushing them. And I might just do that to show you what it takes to do that. So, well, this is the Bench Jeweler, and I hope you enjoyed this little session on how to inspect a clock at an auction or a garage sale or an antique shop. And it's what we would call looking for a nice project clock to buy and put on your mantle or wherever you want to put it. And we'll go ahead now and we'll clean these clocks, and we'll do that each one individually, and we'll film it. So thanks for watching, and everybody be safe and have a nice evening, and we'll see you soon.